Hi everybody, Dr. Joe Dispenza here. The formula is a combination of brain coherence and heart coherence, and when you combine those two, you have a more effective ability to be able to affect the body, your mind, and ultimately your life. Coherence in the brain and coherence in the heart is literally a thought away. And if you and I can do it without any external substance, without anything in our environment, I think we begin to become freer. And when we master our emotions, we master our creations. I hope to see you in my future. Hi everybody, Dr. Joe here. Welcome to episode 3. In episode 2, we asked you for your homework to begin to deconstruct or denature the present personality that's connected to your present personal reality. And the act of this concept called awareness or metacognition is a function of your frontal lobe. That frontal lobe is the seat of your conscience. And when you can pay attention to how you're thinking, when you can become aware of those thoughts, when you can become aware or conscious of how you act, when you all of a sudden become aware, I'm feeling unhappy or I'm feeling guilt, and I didn't even know it was unhappiness or guilt because I feel like this all the time. That act of observing those programs, those states of mind and body, mean you are no longer the program in that moment. You're the consciousness observing those programs, and you begin to objectify your subjective self. That's the first step to change, and it's called metacognition. Now, most people wait for crisis or trauma or disease or diagnosis. They wait for some tragic event to happen in their life where they feel so altered. They no longer feel like themselves. They're not interested in returning their emails or their texts. They're not interested in going out to dinner and seeing the same people. All of a sudden now they start disconnecting from their known life and they start observing who they've been. And the act of doing that, when you no longer feel like yourself and you feel so altered that you begin to see yourself through the eyes of someone else, that's the first process to change. Now, my message is, why wait for that? Why wait for that point where you're at your lowest denominator to begin to see yourself? Why not be defined by a vision of the future? In other words, most people don't create a future because they believe in their past more than they believe in their future. Most people are resigned to possibility because they romance their past, or they're more in love with their past than they are with their future. Why not romance or fall in love with another future? Most people love to tell the story of their past, and I'm asking people to tell a new story of their future. So, this process of transformation and change then is going from one state of mind and body to another state of mind and body. And in order for you and I to do that, here's the old self and here's the new self. And in order for us to arrive at the new self, we have to cross this river. And the hardest part about making changes in your life is not making the same choice as you did the day before. Now, I want to warn you that the moment you decide to do something differently, the moment you decide to make a different choice, get ready, because it's going to feel uncomfortable. It's going to all of a sudden feel unfamiliar. There's going to be some uncertainty in your life. You're not going to be able to predict the next moment. That's because the moment you say, I'm changing this about myself, and you begin that process of change, you're stepping into that river. Now, if you're in the familiar past or you're craving the predictable future, the moment you decide to make a different choice and you step into that river, remember, the body has been conditioned to be the mind. Now the servant is the master. And the moment we declare this in our lives, like, I'm going to exercise, or I'm going to do my meditations every morning, or I'm not going to eat after 6 o'clock in the evening, or I'm not going to curse, I don't know, whatever, I'm not going to complain. The moment you decide to change something about you, and your body has been conditioned or habituated into the same chemistry and the same neurological input, The moment you do something differently and you step into that river, the body is leaving its known familiar territory, and so is the mind. And the body wants to cling to what it knows. It's the mind now. And it's so objective, it only knows what it knows based on familiarity. So the moment you decide to no longer complain or make excuses or feel sorry for yourself or judge another person, the moment you decide to change something about you and you step into that river, the body all of a sudden notices it's no longer in the known. You've just stepped into the unknown, that void. Now, the body, which has been conditioned or habituated to be the mind, wants to return back to what it knows. So all of a sudden, it starts influencing the mind. And this is when you start to hear that chatter in your head. You start to hear those thoughts. Why don't you start tomorrow? This is too hard. You'll never change. Nobody else is changing. It's my ex's fault. It's my mother's fault. I don't have enough this. I don't have enough that. How long is it going to take? These are the thoughts that the body is influencing. And if you respond to that thought as if it's true, that thought is going to lead to the same choice, which is going to lead to the same behavior, which is going to create the same experience, which is going to produce the same feeling or the same emotion. And then you're going to say, this feels right. But I want you to know that that feels familiar. So going from the old self to the new self, crossing that river, there is a biological death that goes on. It's happening neurologically. You're pruning circuits. Inhibiting firing of certain thoughts begins to weaken its connections. No longer making the same choices. No longer producing the same neurochemistry. No longer producing the same hormones. No longer producing the same chemistry or feelings to the body. No longer signaling the same genes with the same emotions and the same behaviors. This process of change, going from the old self to the new self, is the neurological, the biological, the chemical, the hormonal, the genetic death of the old self. Now, when you're in that place called the unknown, this is the perfect place to create from. People say to me all the time, well, I can't predict my future. I always tell them the best way to predict your future is to create it. Now, here's the fun part. When you decide to overcome that personality and become so conscious of your unconscious self that you wouldn't go unconscious in your waking day, this is a good day to be alive. If you said, okay, before I get my coffee, before I take my shower, before I use the toilet, before I check my text, before I check my WhatsApp, before I check my Facebook, my Instagram, before I grab and go into the habit of connecting to everything in my life through my cell phone, what is the greatest expression of myself that I could be today? This is the moment where you're leaving the bleachers and you're stepping onto the field. What if you said, what thoughts do I want to fire and wire in my brain? And if you just decided to put all of your attention on those thoughts, the act of thinking those thoughts over and over again, anything is possible. Great things happen to me. I'm excited about my day. If you keep firing and wiring those thoughts, you begin to install the neurological hardware in your brain by firing and wiring. Now, if you keep doing it over time, that hardware will become a software program, and that will be the new voice in your head. That voice telling you you can do anything or anything is possible is the circuit you installed that is the new thought that will be talking to you in your head instead of I can't or it's impossible. What if you said, one day, one lifetime, I'm going to live a great day today. How would greatness live? And with your eyes closed, you began to rehearse in your mind your particular actions, the things you were going to do. Now, the act of closing your eyes and mentally rehearsing who you're going to be when you open your eyes and what you're going to do, if you're truly present and truly focused, the imagery in your mind begins to install the neurological hardware in your brain. In other words, when you're present, the brain does not know the difference between the real life experience and the act of imagining. You begin to change your brain to look like you already did it. Now the brain is no longer a record of the past. Now, by installing that neural hardware, it begins to become the map of the future. And if you keep doing it over and over again, the hardware then becomes a software program, and you're going to start to naturally act that way. You may just naturally act happy. There's no mystery there. You installed the circuits to do that. So now, if you then can say, now this is the challenging part, how would I feel if I had an amazingly successful day today? How would I feel if I mastered my day today? How would greatness feel? How would abundance feel? How would health feel? And you said, I'm going to teach my body emotionally what the future feels like before it happens. That means you're not waiting for your wealth to feel abundance. You're not waiting for your success to feel empowered. You're not waiting for your new relationship to feel love. You're not waiting for your healing to feel wholeness or gratitude. You're not waiting for the synchronicity or the mystical moment to feel awe and wonder. That is the old model of reality of cause and effect. This is polarity. This is duality. This is where we're living in emptiness and lack from our lives. And we're waiting for something in our environment, some experience out there to take away our emptiness or lack. That is, for most people, spending their whole life waiting for their life to change in order for them to feel better, believing they have no influence on that. That's kind of the classical model of Newtonian physics. But the quantum model of reality is not about cause and effect. The quantum model of reality is about causing an effect. That is, the moment you start feeling worthy and abundant, you are generating wealth. The moment you start feeling empowered and your body starts to feel it, now you are stepping towards your success. The moment you're in love with yourself and you're in love with life, you begin to draw equals to you. The moment you start feeling gratitude and wholeness, that's the moment your healing begins. And when you're in awe of life, you are going to have a synchronicity or a mystical moment. Now that's causing an effect. So then most people then have to make some changes in their beliefs because they have been hypnotized and conditioned into believing something out there has to happen in order for them to feel better here. We're teaching people the exact opposite. The moment you feel that emotion and you are truly present, your body begins to believe it's living in that future reality in the present moment. So then, that biological model of change that we talked about, the unlearning and relearning, the breaking the habit of the old self to reinventing the new self, the pruning of synaptic connections and sprouting new connections, the deprogramming and the reprogramming, the unfiring and the rewiring, the losing your mind and creating a new one, to learn how to unmemorize emotions that have been stored in the body and then begin the conditioning process to condition the body to a new mind and to a new emotion is the process of change. And the word meditation literally means to become familiar with. So when you're sitting in your meditation, and I'm going to give you some homework to do and we'll practice a meditation, it makes sense then that when you become familiar with and conscious of your unconscious thoughts, and you're so conscious of those unconscious thoughts that you wouldn't go unconscious to those thoughts in your waking day. They wouldn't slip by your awareness unnoticed. If you were to become conscious of how you speak or how you acted, and you saw a videotape of yourself in one day acting unconsciously, and you could observe yourself in your meditation doing that, I promise you that you would catch yourself from speaking certain ways or acting certain ways because you would be aware. And that's the process of change. You would become so familiar with those behaviors that you would not go unconscious to them in your waking day. And if you said, my goodness, this feeling that I live by every single day is suffering and pain, but I never thought of it that way because I just feel like that all the time. And now you're conscious of how you've been feeling. This process then of becoming familiar with is exactly what meditation is. And this is where people think they're doing their meditation wrong. And I want you to know that when you start this journey and those things come up, they have to come up and you have to be conscious of them. Now you're lighting a match in a dark place. And I want you to become so familiar with your old self that you don't go unconscious back into that 95% of those programs. And then I want you to become familiar with a new self, with new thoughts and firing and wiring them, and new behaviors and rehearsing them over and over again. And then physically rehearsing them in your day. Why? Because if you keep practicing the firing and wiring, it'll begin to become familiar to you. It'll begin to become more automatic. And if you trade resentment and frustration and anger and fear for joy and freedom and gratitude, and you keep making those chemicals, and you do it every single day, it's going to begin to become familiar to you. So then, going from the old self to the new self and crossing that river is an important element in the model of change. But now I said that most people reach their lowest level before they make up their mind to change. Well, my question is, if you could go to an elevated state and all you have to do is combine a clear intention, a vision of who you would like to be at the end of that day, with an elevated emotion, thought, feeling, stimulus, response, memory of the future, some new possible reality, and begin to emotionally embrace it. It's the combination of that clear intention and elevated emotion that begins to condition the brain and body into a new future. And the moment you start feeling that elevated emotion, and you start feeling altered or changed before the event occurs, the moment you feel that emotion, you're going to begin to pay attention to the picture in your mind. And now we could say then, you're beginning to remember your future. And from that elevated state, you could see the old self from an elevated state instead of a limited state. And my question is, which would you prefer? So then if you were able to get up in a whole new state of being, and you were thinking differently, acting differently, and feeling differently, and if you were able to maintain that modified state of mind and body, independent of the conditions in your environment, independent of the drives and cravings of the body to return back to its normal state, and independent of time, if you could do that every single day, you would begin to see different effects begin to happen in your life as a result of your efforts. Now, the synchronicities, the opportunities, the serendipities that begin to happen around you are a direct effect of changing the way you think, the way you act, and the way you feel. Now, you already know how to do this. We are wired to be creators. You have done something great at least once in your life, and you got a great idea somewhere. And when you got that great idea, like what would it be like to be in shape or to be healthy or to be happy or to be in a new relationship or have a new job, and you got inspired by seeing a new possibility. Most of the time, people, when they select that new possibility in the field, they start to feel the emotions of what it feels like before it happens, and they're giving their body a sampling or a taste of the future. You've done that, and no person, no thing, no object could talk you out of it. This is an important moment because that's the moment your mind and body were aligned to a destiny, and you made the right choices, and you kept doing the right things, and you kept setting goals and creating those experiences. And every time you thought about those goals, you arrived at those goals, you start feeling more of those emotions of your future. And you thought about the thoughts that you weren't going to listen to, the choices you had to stop making, the things you had to stop doing, the experiences you had to stay away from with certain people at certain times, and the emotions that would bring you back to your past, where you would lose sight of that future because you'd be looking at that future through the lens of the past. We've all done this. And then you start seeing your life starting to change, and it's so much easier to forget your vision of the future than to remember it, and it takes practice in order to do that. So in this meditation that I want to talk to you about, we are going to teach you how to write down a combination of those thoughts you wrote down in your last homework assignment, the thoughts that are standing in the way between you and your future, the behaviors that you'll have to stop executing, the emotions that you're going to have to trade for elevated emotions. I want you to write those down and deconstruct that personality. At the same time, we're going to reconstruct a new personality. What thoughts do you want to believe in that you want to fire and wire in your brain? What behaviors? What acts? How can you be in one day? What emotions would you choose to live by every single day? And we're going to put you into an altered state, very light state, and all I'm going to do is have you become aware of your old self, familiar with that old self, so aware, so familiar that you don't go unconscious the remainder of your day. And then we are going to become familiar with, fire and wire, install new circuitry, condition your body emotionally into a new future. And as an experiment, we want to see, as you go from one personality to another, if you could catch yourself in your waking day and not believe certain thoughts, not speak unconsciously certain ways, don't act and feel in those same familiar patterns. And by doing that and beginning to think about who you want to be, let's try an experiment. Let's see how it begins to affect you in your life. I hope you enjoy it. Sit up. Eyes closed. Take a breath and relax. Your body. Feel your body. And relax it. Feel your body. Relaxing. Slow it down. And inhale through your nose all the way to the top. And hold it. And exhale. And relax. And inhale through your nose in one slow breath all the way to the top. And hold it. And exhale. And relax. More. And inhale through your nose. And hold it. And exhale. And relax. Your body. Stay there. It's time to become conscious of your unconscious thoughts. So conscious of these thoughts, they'll never slip by your awareness unnoticed again. What are those thoughts that you can't bring into your future, that's connected to your old personality? Review them. Remember them. Make them conscious in your mind. So conscious, you'll never go unconscious to them again. Commit them. To your memory. One more time, again. They may not pass today. What behaviors, things you do, habits, how you speak unconsciously that you'd like to change? What are those behaviors? View yourself acting that way, and remind yourself that those behaviors don't belong in your future. Make them so conscious, be so aware of them, you would never go unconscious to those habits again. What will you stop doing? Commit it to memory, so you catch yourself in your waking day. That's change. And what emotions and feelings that keep you connected to past experiences that you can't take into your future? What feelings bring you back to the old self that influence your thoughts and behaviors? Name them. These are the feelings that will cause you to no longer see or believe in that future. They cause you to look at that future through the lens of the past. What feelings and emotions must you be aware of and notice so you don't lower your energy today. Become conscious of them. Remind yourself who you no longer want to be. And commit it to your memory. Thoughts, behaviors, emotions that belong to the old personality self. These you must be conscious of your entire day. So conscious that you don't go unconscious to the old self. And now it's time to create a whole new personality that leads to a new personal reality. It's time to change your energy and become someone else. What thoughts do you want to fire and wire in your brain that you want to put your attention and intention behind, that will become the voices in your head that encourage you? Review them. Repeat them. Feel them. Install the hardwiring, the hardware that becomes your natural thoughts in your brain. Again, remember these thoughts. Feel them so you remember them. And repeat them until they become easier to remember. Again, firing and wiring. Put some feeling behind them so you remember them. These will be the new voice in your head. Again, feel it. What behaviors? What things will you do today? How will you act? Rehearse mentally who you're going to be when you open your eyes in this day. Rehearse your actions, how you'll be with certain people, certain conditions. And remind yourself of these actions, installing the hardware in your brain. Rehearse what you're gonna do, who you're gonna be when you open your eyes. Again, rehearse in your mind how you will act today, even how you stand, how you breathe, how you smile, what you do. Review it, priming your brain for the act. Firing and wiring new circuits in your mind, changing your brain by thought alone. Again, making it easier each time to act this way, the more you review it. Feel it. And now, can you teach your body emotionally how your future will feel before it happens? What emotions will you feel when you arrive at your dream? Feel it with all your heart. And allow your body to respond to your mind. Feel it, conditioning your body into the emotions of your future. Feel it. Experience it. Embrace it. Let your body get a taste of your future. With an elevated emotion. Feel it. Embody it. Become it. And feel into your future. Feel it. This is your connection to your future. And remember this feeling. It's your connection to a new future, a new personality, a new personal reality. Feel it and remember this feeling. Changing from the old self into a new self. Investing in yourself is investing in a new life. Believing in yourself is believing in possibilities. Reminding yourself who you no longer want to be. To remind yourself of who you'll become. Practice it every day and see the changes within you and all around you. Change your mind. Change your life. Now you're ready for a new life. Now slowly bring your awareness back to a new body. To a new life. And to a whole new future. Into a whole new time. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes and present yourself to the world of 3 dimensions. In this space and time.